Hi, Kiki. Oh, sorry. I think we're live. Getting a couple different directions here.
Hi.
Thanks. Sorry, too many screens open today. Hi, Kiki. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to the Facebook world for, yes, of course. My name is Ann Feldkamp. I'm with Infobase. Infobase is a leader in education technology and multimedia resources for educators of all age levels. And I'm very thankful to be here today with Kiki Strathakis. And I hope I got that right. I always feel like I
fine.
Thank you. Thank you for being kind. She's the owner and founder of a wonderful educational production company called Getting to Know. So Kiki is based in Chicago. However, looking at that beautiful background, you can see some of her great work behind her. Kiki, tell us a little bit about your company, Getting to Know.
Getting to Know is a production company that creates educational content, specifically in the humanities. We started out by adapting a very popular series of books by Mike Venezia. You might know some of these books. And what was so much fun about these books is how popular they were, but how they told the story, the biographies of the artists with a funny point of view. They're like reading comic books, only about the lives of artists. And they're historically accurate. They aren't getting to know everything about the artist, but the important parts about the artists. So we took these books and turned them into shows. They're usually about 18 to 20 minutes long, and they're animated. They have an enormous amount of content. Like there might be 35 to 50 art images in every episode. We try to tell as comprehensively as we can about the life of the artist, but we try to have fun. Our heroes are Rocky and Bullwinkle. And so we try to tell the story in a humorous fashion where there's something for adults and there's something for children. We've won quite a few of American Library Association's notable video awards as family entertainment, edutainment. So you could very easily play this. Our content is used in high schools as well as elementary schools, sort of around the world.
Right. It has quite a following. I know artists and content on art. You have two series. One, Elements of Art, that is really talking about, and teaching students the vocabulary and truly the elements of art. But then you also have one, there you go. Yep. So shape, color. So these are so popular with art teachers. And then you also have the programs about famous artists. So it's a really great, series go really well together, and you have quite a following in the art teacher world. When you were creating these, what was your goal? What was your hope or goal for art teachers or teachers and how they could use this content in their classrooms?
Well, what's interesting is that I never created it for the art teachers. I created it for the students. I love the arts. I came from a very working class background, and I feel like the arts saved not only my life, but so many of the kids that I grew up with. Whether it was art, whether it was theater or dance or music. And for a lot of these kids today, because now we're going to our 50th high school reunions, a lot of them stuck with it and built tremendous lives as a result of it, where they might have just sort of worked in their dad's construction business. It's almost, I feel like the arts can save a life. And so I wanted to do these videos so that kids would have access to information that they wouldn't get any other way. And luckily, the teachers loved the books, so I knew they would love the videos. And that's from there, we realized that we had sort of a winning formula, and we continued it. We combine humor with facts.
And I know you'll agree with me that, God bless those construction workers, but just, I think what you were saying is just that exposure to things that maybe you don't have in your backyard, right? Like, I grew up in it sounds maybe somewhere, I didn't grow up with an art museum in my hometown, right? So in order for me to learn about these artists, these films are in some ways really an option for teachers to share that with the students. And so you shared with me a really great success story, I think I'd call it, about a young student that had watched the film. Can you share it with our viewers today about kind of those?
When we first produced these, the first two videos we did was Monet and Van Gogh. Monet, Van Gogh. So we took the Monet video and we went to an elementary school, and the art teacher in that school said, come, I'll bring in a TV on a cart. I'll bring the TV in with the DVD or VHS player. And they brought in a cart into the library, and they proceeded to just have classrooms of kids come all day so we could get an idea of how the kids would respond to it. And in one of the classes, there was a child who never looked at the screen. He looked away, he was distracted, he didn't care. I thought for sure he just A, didn't like it, and B, didn't take in any information. So several months later, the teacher calls me and says, the most amazing thing happened today. The mother of this child came in and said, I don't know what you did, but I want to thank you because I wanted to go to the museum and I knew the only way I could get there is if I took my son with me. And I was ready for a screaming fight, but he walked into the museum, looked around and said, oh, I know what this is. And they proceeded to go around and look for Monets and other artists and talk about the paintings. And he told stories about what he saw in the video. I swear, this kid never looked at the screen. He just took information in a different way than we do, but he took it in. And that's the important part.
Anyone, I think I'm going to say anyone. I was going to say anyone in education, but I can't imagine anyone that doesn't just love that story. And it just speaks to, what you do so well is connect this material, whether or not it's information about the artist, art. I mean, you have other series on the US presidents, really content in the humanities. And that's what we want, right? We want to connect with students in whichever way they're going to learn it. And that might differ from day to day, but that's sometimes the beauty of differentiating that instruction or bringing in video or technology. It allows us to reach those students in different ways. And I'm just so thankful that that young student had that experience. And, we always hear, you hear a few stories like that, but you have to imagine that that's something that happens so frequently with your content. So I know you must be reaching many of those students. So you're definitely, I think, achieving your goal there.
But I would like to go back to the idea of the construction worker, the kid who becomes a construction worker. The art can improve, can inspire everyone in any field that it is. I mean, we all know that great story about Steve Jobs taking a calligraphy class, and that was what inspired his entire design philosophy. I think of tradespeople as artists, what they do, how they build something, how they envision it. It's like sculpture. And I think the arts are important no matter what field you're in, whether it's the sciences, it just doesn't make any difference. It's going to affect everything. And an appreciation of the humanities can't hurt. It can only help.
I've known you, Kiki, for many years, and there's a million reasons why I love you, but that right there is one of them. Your perspective is so wonderful, and I love that you are able to bring that to the films that you produce, because they really bring in a great perspective on topics that I know you said this earlier to me too, that it's almost something for the whole family as we get into this remote learning environment where, you know, maybe the typical way students viewed your content was in the classroom, or now maybe, you know, we have a lot of students that are viewing this at home, and it might turn into a family event, really.
It's appropriate for the family. There's a density of information. So you can, whether or not you're in high school or a parent or a really small child, there's sort of something for everybody. You know, the goofy jokes for the little kids might be like too goofy for the little kids, but there's also a lot of sophistication and there's a lot of content to take in.
Yeah, and there is, and they're really well done. Just for our teachers that are viewing this, if we're talking about like the elements of art, they're all around 20 minutes, right? They're about 20 minutes long, and they're all chapterized, or what we refer to as segments. So, you know, a teacher could, you know, find a specific portion, maybe they're talking about, you know, a painting technique or a certain term to play that, you know, unique segment. Or as you mentioned, a lot of times you're finding they're playing the full film maybe as they're doing a project.
Yes.
Can you?
This was a surprise to me. This was information that actually came from teachers. We go to the National Art Educators Conference every year, or we used to. And we would gather a group of teachers who, were trying to learn about the content, and teachers who use the content. And one of the things that they shared with us is that they would play in the classroom. They would give the kids a project, and while they were doing the project, they would play one of the videos, depending upon what the project was, how old the kids were. What they found is that it kept the whole class kind of calm and focused on their own work as opposed to each other. So they used it as a tool for management, classroom management, and to get vocabulary in their heads. Even if they hadn't covered it, the children would build vocabulary just by having these things run in the background. So if there was a kid that got done early with his project, instead of annoying everyone around it, he could watch the rest of the video. You know, they use it both as a management tool, but also as a learning tool, because there's enough content in there. It'll seep in. You just play it, it'll seep in.
Well, and, you know, too, in the remote learning world that we're in, you know, sometimes, as you know, whether or not maybe it's arts or some of these other classes, you know, teachers aren't able to have as much time as they used to in an in-person class, or maybe the diversity of different teachers. And so this is something that, you know, for those students that are looking for projects, or maybe families, parents that, you know, adults in the students' lives that are looking for ideas. I mean, this is a great thing to say, hey, share this series with them, and to watch at their own pace, or to dive in deeper, or, you know, it's a really great activity for our young people who may or may not find themselves interested in art. Hopefully we can get those that aren't interested in art a little bit more excited about it, and those that are, a lot more information about it. So yeah, I think there's lots of applications how we can do this. For those of you that might be just joining in with us, again, my name's Ann Feldkamp. I'm here today with Kiki Strathakis from Getting to Know, and she's a fantastic producer of a lot of great content that we have available on our K-12 streaming service of Learn360. That's available for schools and districts, learning consortiums, provinces, and states to license, to subscribe to for their teachers and students, as well as our Just for Kids platform, which is available in the public libraries. And so these are great resources. If you have access to those, we hope you'll log in and search for Getting to Know, or some of these great programs we're talking about. And if you don't, please go to infobase.com, sign up for a free trial, and you can view these and learn more about them. So we were just kind of talking about some of the uses of the content. You know, we were talking about just maybe the process earlier about creating a film. Can you speak to a little bit about your process? I know you showed me a huge research binder you had. So can you kind of walk us through how you get an idea and how it comes into fruition?
Well, when I first started to do these, I had come from a production background, and my area of expertise was animation and computer generated animation. And this was back when the earth was cooling, before you could just do it on your phone. And when we started with a cell animation where you had to draw thousands and thousands of cells and then hand paint them and do backgrounds. And as time has gone on, it's become digital, and that we do a lot of it on the computers. But the biggest part, my most favorite part of the process, is the research. And like, so this is a title that I've been working on, George Surratt. And I know nothing about anything when I start. I just start researching. And this is a typical research book with lots and lots of pages that are tagged. We start with the basic book, and then we expand on it with more information about their lives. And doing a deep dive into these artists' lives or a president's life is it's the best. It's so much fun because there's so much you don't know. And the more you know, the more you love them. Like every time I do a video, it's my favorite artist. You know, Van Gogh was my favorite artist. And then Warhol became my favorite artist. And then Faith Ringgold, please everybody watch Faith Ringgold, became my favorite artist. And that's the joy of the process. And then once I do it, then we work on the script. And then the hardest part is, what do we put in? What do we take out? Because it's not everything about their lives. You know, we try to make it move a little bit. And then we do storyboards, and we often talk to art historians to make sure that we're covering it correctly. And then we throw in the fun, which is the jokes and the cartoons. And I usually leave that to the animators because they're better at it than I am. Animators are a funny bunch. They like nothing more than to have an opportunity to tell a joke visually. So that's the process that we go through.
Awesome. That's really interesting. I love hearing your excitement about it. And I do agree. I hope everyone will watch the film on Faith Ringgold after this, because it's an artist that I didn't know a lot about personally, and found very interesting. And so you do a great job.
She's African-American. She is a rock star. And I think, she's written many, many books for children. She is so appropriate to this time in our lives. And she's there's tons of information about her on the internet. And she herself has a fabulous website with all kinds of projects for kids. So I would recommend anyone explore her work deeply.
Sounds good. I'll put a link to that film. So for those of you that are subscribers, I'll put a link to the film so you can click to it easily and log in and view that, because it is a really, really, I mean, all of your films are great. I know it's hard to ask this question, but what has been one of your favorite films or projects to work on? I don't know if you can answer that, because
this is
hard to choose a favorite.
It's hard to choose a favorite, but I'll tell you what was the most sort of eye-opening was when I worked on the presidents. We have Washington, Jefferson, Adams, and Lincoln. And what was amazing to me was what great men they were, and how what we have today we wouldn't have if it wasn't for them. In times where they didn't have electricity and they didn't have libraries, and how did they get so smart? And their dedication, because most of them were wealthy in their own right. They could have just continued, but yet they decided to form this country. Flawed, but wonderful. And that was eye-opening to me. And I thought, I had hoped that that of all of the videos, those are the ones that were the most inspirational. Do I love the artists? I do. Do I love art? Yes. Do I love Andy Warhol with all my heart? But I will say that the presidents were inspirational to me.
Wow. I will say, I'm surprised to hear that. I thought you were going to tell me Andy Warhol, for example. But
right.
well,
Well, I want to be Faith Ringgold. When I grow up, I'm hoping to be Faith Ringgold. I think it's going to be a little hard to become an African-American woman in my old age, but I'm going to work on it.
Well, and I hope that our viewers, and I know a lot of you are probably teaching right now, so if you view this later, I hope that you'll have an opportunity to log in and search for Getting to Know on Learn360, search for some of these artists or films that Kiki is sharing with us. As Kiki has shared with me previously, a lot of our film that we provide with Learn360, is used in a classroom or an instructional setting. We know a lot of that is remote today, but this is great content to use to expand out lessons, to engage students, outside of the classroom that are looking for more material. But then, and Kiki shared this with me earlier, even just for teachers, sometimes just differentiate that day. She mentioned a lot of your teachers have shared, it's great when you have a sub, when you have someone else that's teaching and you're saying, okay, I don't know if you can continue that project, but here's a film about a famous artist and it's going to be a great experience and one that you can trust with a sub. And so there's lots of great applications for using Kiki's content in your classroom. So maybe to talk a little bit about what's next, we have a film that we'll be adding to the site shortly on Learn360, and it is a little bit different from what we've been talking about. The title of the film is How to Be an Older Brother or Sister. Could you tell us a little bit about this film and what our teachers can expect?
This is a children's book that was written by Mike Venezia, who is the author of the Artist series and the artist books. And it's an adorable little book that just pieces together some vignettes of what it's like to be an older brother or sister. And they're cute, and and it talks about how hard it is because you have to share, and a baby comes in and nobody's paying any attention to you. And they take your stuff, they make a lot of noise. But it's for younger children, but the responses that I have gotten is it would be something that probably would be pre-KK. But a lot of families have viewed this together with younger children. And what they thought was really interesting about it is that it promoted all of this family discussion, a lot of reminiscing. I remember when so-and-so was born and you brought him home and, oh, he was so annoying, but I love him now. So they found that it sort of got everybody talking about the family dynamics and what it's like to be an older sibling in the family. I think some friends of mine had told me that they viewed it with 3 generations. And the grandparents talked about siblings that the kids didn't even know they had. Like, oh, wait, you had how many brothers and sisters? And where were you? And were you the first one? Were you the last one? Or, and so it created a lot of sort of discussion. Now, if you were going to use it in a classroom situation, it's very calming. And it would be a good thing to just get the kids to sit down and focus and just watch it. And then who knows, they might even drift off on a little nap.
Especially for that younger age, that pre-K,
yes.
where maybe they are doing some of that quiet time. But I think also it does sometimes turn into a class event if one of the students is welcoming, a new family member, that it can kind of turn into that great learning lesson, and the class can experience that maybe with that student or as a breakout activity, as for the teacher to suggest to a family. So I fully agree. I mean, those family dynamics are interesting, and how to be a good older brother.
It's very promoting of that. It really is it really is the book with some limited animation. So it's almost like reading and the text is there, so it's almost like you're reading a book with the child, or the child is reading the book.
Right. I love that on on-screen narration really helps, you know, if you're maybe at that kindergarten level, but it does help, you know, with our students that are following along. I know especially we get a lot of that request, you know, if we have any type of story, if we can have that on-screen caption for those students who are able to read the words, you know, we want to reinforce that. So that was a really great call. Thank you for doing that. So that's a really, and I wanted to bring that up because I just think it speaks to, you know, the diverse types of content that you approach. And it makes me want to ask the question we spoke about earlier of, for those of you that are watching, I know it's during the school day, so we're not getting a lot of you here live, but as you watch this, you know, when your time allows, let Kiki know. One of the questions she asked of me is, I always love hearing from teachers and what is it that they're looking for, right? In Learn360, we have over 36,000 videos for teachers to use, whether or not it's something as early as pre-K, the how to be a good older brother or sister, or AP Physics. And so we're looking to always have very current and engaging content, but the question always remains, what are you looking for? So if you're watching this and there's something that comes to mind, please comment and let us know. Kiki will share it with you, or if you want to pop in here and see the comments, you know, hopefully throughout the next few days or whenever they're being viewed. We sure would love to hear that. And who knows, maybe you might pique Kiki's interest and you might find your film.
I would love to come back at some point and hear what you all have to say, because I've learned about my content. I'm not a teacher, I'm a producer. So I don't go into the classroom. And now with COVID, I'm not going to any of the conferences. So I'm not able to interact with the teachers and find out what they're doing and how they're using it, and hear what they have to, what they're looking for, what they're interested in doing. Like, I want to do a video of dogs in great art. What do you think? Do you think it would sell? The kids would love it.
I'll leave that one up for our teachers. I'll buy that calendar.
All the great artists had pets. It's surprising how many of them had pets. And painting.
Wait, where's magic? Where's your magic, by the way?
Magic.
Where's magic, by the way?
Come here. I have to go off screen. Come here, Magic. She's not having it.
I don't want to put her on the spot. I know she's, you know,
she's like,
a little shy.
Yes, she's my emotional support production dog. Magic, come here. Nope, she's not doing it.
True to form, all good artists have a pet dog.
Almost all of them. Warhol had cats. Rembrandt had a dog and a monkey that he had stuffed when the monkey passed away. Yeah, they all had pets, interestingly enough. So just thought I'd mention that.
That's a good fact of the day now. I didn't never put that together. Thank you. Well, Kiki, we're coming up at our half-hour mark, and I know you have a lot going on, and I just want to say thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
It's fantastic. I think just by looking at your background, you're hopefully inspiring teachers to dive in more, because it's a great, great representation of how fun and just engaging her content is. So I hope that you'll take some time, log into Learn360, do a great search for getting to know, or like I said, one of the artists that Kiki has mentioned. And I hope you'll enjoy her content as much as we do. And Kiki, I hope we can have you back here again soon and we can talk more about education and the content you produce. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.